Welcome back to Catching Up, and I'm here today to do a review of Ted 2, the new Seth MacFarlane film, the sequel to the 2013, or no, I think it was 2012 film Ted. Yeah, I just got done watching it. It took me a month to finally go see it. So before I saw it, I knew a lot of the reviews were bad. I watched Brad Jones's midnight screening review of it, and yeah, I didn't expect it to be very good. I didn't expect it to be as bad as it was though. I'm a big fan of Seth MacFarlane, especially earlier Family Guy, like the first maybe 4 or 5 seasons, maybe a bit later, I don't know. Yeah, I think I enjoy Family Guy until it went into HD, and then I don't know what it was, but after it went to HD, the writing just didn't seem to be as good, and it just went massively downhill. Had problems for years, but then it just took huge. It went downhill really quickly, and now it's almost unwatchable. At least I think it is. An American Dad I really like. I think that actually has gotten better as Family Guy's gotten worse. So yeah, I was really excited when the first Ted film came out. I saw it in the cinema, and I loved it. I really thought it was a good film. Over time, I guess it's not as good as I thought it was when I first saw it, but I still think it's a really good film. It's a really good comedy. It has a lot of heart. It's really smartly written, and at the same time, really, like, the writing is stupid at times as well. The jokes are very stupid, but that's what you expect from Seth MacFarlane. I didn't watch last year's A Million Ways to Die in the West, but I've heard it's really bad as well. So yeah, so the plot of this film. So we basically Mark Wahlberg's character John has gotten a divorce from Mila Kunis's character from the first film. She's not in the film at all, and a lot of his storyline, at least in the first half an hour, is him being depressed and shit like that. And then there's Ted marries his girlfriend Tammy Lynn from the first film, and the whole not the whole film, like the first hour of the film is them deciding that they want to have a child and trying to think of a way to get it, have their baby. Like half an hour to 45 minutes of the film is them trying to get either like them trying to first get a sperm donor, and then because that doesn't work out, they decide they have to go get an adoption. And then it turns out that Ted, because he's a teddy bear, he's not technically a human, he's not counted as a person, so yeah, he can't adopt a child. So then he decides he's going to fight for his right to be a human or person, whatever. So then we meet Amanda Seyfried's character, who is a lawyer. It's her first case. Her name's Samantha Leslie Jackson. The joke is it's Sam L. Jackson. It's not funny. The only reason that Ted and John agree that she can be the lawyer is because she smokes weed. She does it in the law office that she works in, which I'm pretty sure is not something that would happen in real life. I'm pretty sure if a lawyer gets out a bong in a law office and just starts smoking it after her new clients come in, she's gonna lose her job, but whatever. So then Donnie from the first film, played by Giovanni Ribisi, comes back again, and he decides to he works as a janitor at Hasbro, and he goes to the manager of Hasbro or whatever, the CEO, and basically says, I have this idea. If we make sure that Ted loses the case to get rights and he becomes property, then we can take him back and find out what makes him real, what makes him talk and stuff. And if they can do that, then they can make a make their own line of Ted toys that speak and talk and are essentially living things. So that's like the first hour of the film. The next hour, everything completely falls apart. The plot of the film is very, very loose. It's all over the place. The film just cannot decide what it wants to be. You know, it keeps starting new storylines and then starting another new storyline, and it just, you never feel any real sense of closure. None of the storylines are really ended. They just keep going and going and then starting a new one and going, and it's just really badly written. It's almost as if this film isn't written by the same people who wrote the first one. It's just not good. It really is not. The jokes are terrible. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the best jokes, and they didn't even show that many good jokes in the trailer. A huge amount of the jokes in the film are based on reference humour, something that Family Guy did a lot and still does, and the first Ted did a lot. The difference being that this film, instead of just, you know, referencing something, it copies entire scenes from other movies. They copy the scene in Planes, Trains and Automobiles where John Candy is driving and listening to that song, and he's smoking and he drops a cigarette on himself and ends up essentially crashing the car. They copy that almost exactly like it was in the original film, except they change it around a bit. You know, Ted causes a car crash, and he ends up crashing the car into a barn. They just copy that entire scene almost exactly the same, and that's something they also, I'm pretty sure they did that exact same thing in Family Guy as well. In fact, there's quite a lot of jokes in this film that are literally copied exactly from Family Guy. Ted 1 did it, but it was more them paying homage to certain scenes and certain jokes from Family Guy. This one is just almost like Seth MacFarlane over the years since the Family Guy episode has looked at it and gone, you know what, I can think of a better joke that should have been in that scene. So he decides, instead of just holding that around with him and always saying that's a regret, he decided to actually redo that scene. Like the scene where John goes into the sperm donor, he's gonna donate sperm for Ted's baby, and they go into the room where all the sperm is held, and all the sperm falls onto John, and that is copied from Family Guy. I'm pretty sure it's either Family Guy or American Dad, but yeah, that's been done before by something Seth MacFarlane has done before. It's just so lazy. I can't believe that he really thought that was a good idea. Also, they copy a scene from Jurassic Park, which wasn't funny. They just randomly, there's a scene where after they crash their car into a barn, they get out the car and find a pot field, and the Jurassic Park theme song starts playing, and Ted just goes, "They really do move in herds." It's not funny. None of the jokes in this, well, not none of them, but the majority of the jokes in this film really aren't funny. They just completely miss. There are funny jokes. There are some jokes that do hit. Especially there's like 20 minutes of the film where it basically becomes a courtroom movie for a short period of time, and I wish the rest of the film was that scene, because that was actually the best part of the movie, and there's actually a lot of really funny jokes in that scene. But the rest of it, there's a joke that hits maybe every five minutes or so, and it's a long movie. It really is a long movie. I don't know if I don't think the first one was as long as this one, but it really, all the film, it just feels like Seth MacFarlane doesn't know what to write, so he's just stretching things out, sort of like what Family Guy does a lot, whereas Family Guy is much more lazy though. Instead of, you know, deciding to add extra jokes and stuff and extending the episode out, they just, you know, play an entire music video from start to finish. They've done that quite a few times on Family Guy, and it really pisses me off, but luckily Ted 2 didn't do that at all, so I guess that's a positive thing about this film. the last half, the last act anyway, is just completely awful. Honestly, some of the worst filmmaking I think I've seen in a long time. That third act just does not work. None of it works. That third act, they decide to do a couple of things. They decide to copy the entire third act from the first Ted film, almost exactly the same. And you know, sometimes when sequels do that, it can be funny. Like in 22 Jump Street, where they pretty much the whole film, they make loads of jokes about how similar it is to the first film, and you know, the meta humor in that film is really smart. And there's Nick Offerman's character who's constantly making jokes about it. Like I can't remember one for it exactly, but he makes a joke about the whole film as a whole. Like he's saying that this second operation won't be as good as the first and stuff like that. And that is smart, but this one, it's not. It's literally, they copy an entire third act from the previous movie, and Mark Wahlberg says deja vu, and that's the entire joke, and it's so bad. I'm not going to spoil the entire film in case anyone wants to go see it, but the last 15 minutes are just so bad. I literally was sitting there and I felt like I was in pain from how bad it was. It just did not work. None of the film really worked. There were some good jokes, but that was really it. The film is just, it's a really badly written movie. It just doesn't try. It's really unfunny. There's a lot of cameos from big celebrities. Some of them work. Liam Neeson has a cameo in it. It's actually possibly... No, that is my favourite bit of the film, not the courtroom scene. That's one scene with Liam Neeson is actually really, really funny. And that actually really works. It doesn't play any purpose in the film. It just comes out of nowhere, and afterwards is never referenced again, except I believe there's an after credits scene, but I didn't see that bit. So yeah, that scene was really funny. I won't spoil it for anyone who wants to see it, because that is actually a scene where you shouldn't have it spoiled, because that is actually a really funny scene. Morgan Freeman comes in the film randomly, and he's not really funny. Who else? Patrick Warburton was in the first one. He comes back, he plays the same character. The final act is set at New York Comic Con, and he dresses up as a Tick, which is kind of funny because he played the Tick, I believe, in the cartoon series. He might have in the live action series as well. I think he did. Yeah, that was kind of funny, and he's at Comic Con with his boyfriend, and the only reason he's there is to essentially bully people. And that was actually kind of funny at first, the first time I saw it. Then they repeat that joke 5 times and it's not funny anymore. The third act, as well as copying the third act, the first film, starts recycling jokes that were used previously in the same movie. You know you've run out of ideas when you're not ripping off a previous film in a series, you're ripping off the same film that you're in. It's so bad. I say that, I've said that so many times in this video, but it really is a bad movie. And it's such a shame, because I really like the first Ted movie. It has a lot of charm, it's got a lot of heart in it as well. The whole thing of the film is about growing up, essentially, and they did that well, and it was really funny. It's all about realizing that one day you do have to grow up and have some responsibilities and stuff, and stop being a child. And that was good, and it was smartly written. It was very funny. The acting was all good, although the acting in this film is pretty good as well. There weren't many jokes in the first film that didn't hit, and you know, the scenes of John and Ted sitting around watching TV and smoking weed, it made sense in that film, because the whole film is about how John has to grow up, about how he's still a child, and how instead of spending time with his girlfriend, he's spending his entire time just laying around with his friend watching TV, and how it's affecting his job and everything, and how he needs to grow up and stop being a child. In this film, they do it for no reason. There's just a scene where they watch Law and Order. For no reason. They just watch Law and Order and they start singing over the theme song. This film makes my head hurt. What else is there really to say about this film? There are so many problems with this film. It's impossible to list every single one. I'm surprised I even managed to go on for this long, to be honest. Yeah, it's not good. It really is not good. You know, a lot of the reviews I read said if you're a fan of Seth MacFarlane or the first film, you'll probably enjoy this one, but nope, I did not. It was not good. It really was not. I'm a fan of Seth MacFarlane when he writes good stuff, when he's writing early Family Guy and American Dad and the first Ted movie, but I do not like this. This is really not good. This is, I don't know about A Million Ways to Die in the West, but out of what I've seen, this is possibly one of the worst things he's done. Although Family Guy nowadays is much worse. Yeah. It was essentially like watching like 2 hours worth of bad Family Guy episodes. That was essentially this movie. And hopefully I forget it very soon. It really is not a memorable film. I've forgotten most of the jokes already, except for the ones that were actually quite good, the ones that were in the trailer, and the really bad ones that were just painfully unfunny. So yeah, if you have not seen Ted 2, I would definitely not recommend it. I'd definitely give it a miss, because it just is not worth it. For the, out of the 2 hours, and God did it really feel like 2 hours. There are films like Boyhood, a 2 hour 45-minute film. For me, that just flew past. It didn't feel like that long at all. This film felt like 5 hours. It just went on and on and on. It just, the story was so badly written. You never really knew what was going to happen next, not because, you know, because the film was really smartly written and really unpredictable, but because the film had such a lack of focus. It could go anywhere, and it did. It did go in loads of weird places. The last act of the film came out of nowhere. So I'm just going to stop now before I talk for any longer than I need to. This is a really bad movie. I've not seen many films this year, but this is definitely the worst film I've seen this year. At least, I mean, films that have been released this year. I think Freddy Got Fingered is probably still the worst film I've watched in 2015 out of any film. So, yeah, really disappointing film. Definitely would not recommend it. Out of 10, I'd give it maybe a 4 or 5. No, probably about a 3 or 4 out of 10. Yeah. It's a shame I had to do that, because I was actually really looking forward to this film, so maybe I should stop looking forward to films, because I just get disappointed. Even after they've got bad reviews, and I always go into films with open minds. I always go into films that have got bad reviews expecting it would be bad, but I might enjoy something out of it, but with this film I didn't, so yeah. Thanks for watching this review, I guess. Yeah. That's all I really have to say. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.